I'm going on a trip to do puzzles after being cooped inside all week. Got my gear ready, and let's go! Top 5 puzzles I did in exploring the countryside.
We're off to a start with this rocky trail. In a Wordle game, you guess words and get indicators like in Mastermind that tell what letters work. But in Cobble, we get the indicators and have to find the words used there, and there's so many paths forward. Time to look for some connections, but fortunately we can deduce the labels to show a semantic set. Other than that, a nice starter as we find the 5-letter words to hop, skip, and jump to the links, next groups, and later the answer thanks to the labels and... Wait, what happened to the colors?
There's fragments to be restored. Yeah, you're noticing things are drab, bland, and fade away. That's because the 4 seasons disappeared. Time to get the fragments! Eventually, we had to fall late into the hunt with AI-generated art. AI as an artistic interference, in which the art is a knockoff of the real deal as one word has been changed in the production. But this one small change made the identification hard! Art experience definitely helped, but much of it involved anticipating which parts would likely be in the original and searching from there. After getting all the words, we need to put them together to form actual paintings and a final clue phrase with some trial and error. It's a hard process, but we made it work.
Some assembly required. It's a crossword, but we lack not only a diagram, but also holes. In order to find the clues, we need to poke holes for letters with closed counters, and some symbols get the double treatment. I mainly did that in the clues, but then we have to make the diagramless crossword too, keeping track of the symmetry and the like. But I enjoy this team moment as we finish the grid and a teammate helps fish out things that are almost fish. Another ice cold puzzle here. Moving along with the ice, but it gets too slippery and we need to know when to stop. That's while we're on thin ice, but before that, we need to find the letters to skate on. I enjoyed helping find many of them, like the ones on states and elements, but my personal standout was Pascal's array. I got to see how the triangle is incorporated at an angle and in mod 26. This all accumulated with an ice spawn logic puzzle that a teammate worked on. The goal is to follow the arrows to visit all icy regions before exiting, but the arrows and extracted letters are pulled from the exercise, including a repeat. Before my top pick, some honorable mentions. Entering competitions, so many team name abbreviations for so many puzzle hunts, including some throwbacks. Journal overtakeages, we get countries but the substitutions and final attraction were fairly tricky to work with. Summer camp, while solving the puzzle, I learned about the math genealogy, which has math icons and even professors. Squared away, a word search puzzle with a nice little mechanic. Butterfly catching, didn't do much there but it's a good old classic picture game puzzle. And last but not least, the 4-season theorem. This riffs on the 4-color theorem, in which any map can be colored with 4 colors. But we need to figure out what colors to color for this map. Granted, we do have feeders that line up the squares, but without all the feeders, we need to logic our way with what we have. Once the grid is out, we can then pick out the seasoning, though with some twists and turns. Now to unpack the top pick. And looks like Winter swept the competition. Puzzle Santa came in with these 8 puzzle boxes, but we have to sort out the pieces to the puzzle box assembly based on the gimmicks that would be used. Time to observe letter and word patterns. Many of the presents are based on encoding schemes. Braille retranslation to ASCII for present 1, anagram NATO for present 5, and semaphore for present 6. These sorting structure means I can go back and forth in the contributions. In fact, before I found all the present answers, I saw how to work with the 8 frozen feeders. Picking out the word pattern and observation at that time was really nice, and from it came a pairing that helped lead to the answer. And that wraps up exploring the countryside. Bringing the seasonal colors back to amend the countryside was more of a team experience than a solo experience, but I still had a good time. It's interesting how the season with the top 3 also had some of my favorite activities. Many of the puzzles have quite the exploration around the world too, fitting for a classic picture game. Shoutouts to the folks there for making that happen, and for viewers like you, thank you!